What's going on, you guys? It's Anna. Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be discussing Alexander Volkanovski and how I believe he will be the GOAT, or how he could be the GOAT in UFC and MMA in general, like the greatest MMA fighter of all time. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Alexander Volkanovski. Well, I don't think it's obvious, but I am a big fan of Alexander Volkanovski, and I really want him to succeed in his UFC career. And I want him to be the GOAT. Because Jon Jones, even though I do like Jon Jones, right, and I think Jon Jones is the GOAT by far, and it's going to take a lot for Volk, which we'll get into in a second, how I believe he could get there. It will take a lot for Volk to get to the top. Obviously, Jon Jones has some stuff that he has done that takes him out of some people's, GOAT status, and people have Georges St. Pierre over him, or other people who are, I guess, clean, you know what I mean? But Volkanovski has a very tough road. Jon Jones has done way too much. He's done a lot in the light heavyweight division. Obviously, he came back and became the heavyweight champion, beating Cyril Gane, and that even elevated to the point where it's damn near unattainable at this point. But Volk could do it, and here's how he's going to do it. So the first thing he has to do is beat Ilia Topuria. Topuria seems like the next guy to be in line to face him. Topuria is a very tough challenger, but I think Volkanovski can definitely beat Topuria. I think he's going to be able to use his grappling to take him down and be able to dominate him in those exchanges. And either win by maybe a finish, like a TKO finish, or by decision. Topuria is obviously no slouch. He's a very good fighter, and I do believe that's a really tough fight for Alexander Volkanovski, but I believe that Alexander Volkanovski can beat him. And I believe that that fight might be made by the end of the year, or maybe beginning of 2024. Hopefully that fight gets announced at some point, right? So that's the first step. That's step number one. Step two, if I'm not mistaken, is him beating Aljamain Sterling. If Aljamain Sterling can obviously get past Sean O'Malley this upcoming in 2 weeks at UFC 292, if I'm not mistaken, I believe is UFC 292 against Sean O'Malley, and he dominates him. And then let's say Aljamain Sterling wants to go up in weight. Aljo wants to go up in weight and face Alexander Volkanovski for the 145-pound belt. You know what I mean? I feel like it makes sense for Aljamain Sterling because nobody really is going to get that title shot. Because Corey Sandhagen, even though he beat Rob Font in a very boring fight, by the way, we have to put things into perspective. There's not really... Merab is never going to fight him. Merab and him are teammates. They're good friends. They're never going to fight each other. He's just going to vacate the belt, or he's going to keep the belt to become double champ, right? He's going to keep the belt, go up in weight to become a double champion at 135 and 145. Obviously, Volkanovski will be down to fight. He wants to continue to fight. He's been saying this for a while, that he just wants to fight the best, and he wants to continue to build his legacy. So what does he do? He fights Aljamain Sterling, and he beats Aljamain Sterling. I believe that he can beat Aljamain Sterling. I will favor him over Aljamain Sterling, even though Sterling has really good grappling, and obviously it's going to be one of the toughest bouts that Volkanovski ever does, to be honest with you, aside obviously Islam Makhachev, which we'll get to in a second. But let's start with Aljamain Sterling. I believe that fight is very close. I think it really just goes to, the striking has to be top tier for Volkanovski, who I believe is one of the best strikers in all of the UFC. He really has to hone in on his striking and take him out that way, I believe, and dominate him in that fashion in the striking department to be able to beat Aljamain Sterling. The grappling, I think maybe Aljo might have the edge. He might have. I think he does have the edge, even though I believe that Volkanovski is a lot more stronger than Aljo. I think that the grappling, I think he got him on that department. I think Aljamain Sterling is probably one of the best grapplers in all of the UFC. So it's going to be tough for him to beat him, but I believe he can get the job done and probably beat him by either a knockout or by unanimous decision, winning majority of the rounds. I think he probably can knock him out. Aljo's obviously in the past got knocked out before. If you saw what happened with Marlon Moraes, he has gotten knocked out. So it's definitely attainable for Volk to do that. And I believe that would be even greater if he's able to knock him out over than a decision, in my honest opinion, especially for his legacy. So that's step number two, is beat Aljamain Sterling. If Aljo can get past Sean O'Malley, which I believe he will, and by the way, next week I'm going to be making a predictions video for a lot of the fights on that card. So stay tuned for that. By the way, subscribe and like the video. Thank you. That would really I would really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Sorry. Step 3. Go up in weight and fight Islam Makhachev. Islam, obviously, they had a fight already. And Islam won. I do believe that Islam Makhachev did win. I believe he won majority. I think I like 3-2, if I'm not mistaken. You can say 4-1. I wouldn't even be too mad, but definitely 3-2 for sure. Obviously, they fought each other, and Alex has that experience. Alex has to beat Makhachev. I don't think he, listen, if he beats, let's say Oliveira somehow, some way beats Islam Makhachev and becomes a champion, and Volkanovski then faces Charles Oliveira, right? I feel like it will be less meaningful. I mean, it would be very meaningful, don't get me wrong, if he beats Charles Oliveira for the lightweight belt, but I feel like it will be less meaningful if he doesn't beat Islam. He needs to beat Islam, I think. Because that would hide himself. Because let's say Islam beats Oliveira again, right? And he's just unstoppable. It just seems like nobody's on his level. The only person that might be on his level is maybe Volkanovski, but the last time they fought, he won. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of people believe that Volk won. And maybe the night I believe that he won, but that was pure bias because I wanted Volk to win. But he needs to beat him. He needs to beat Islam Makhachev. I don't know how the fuck you're going to beat Islam Makhachev. He is probably one of the best fighters today. I mean, by far, I think he's number one in the lightweight division. By far. I think it's like, well, Oliveira's second, but I think that there's a pretty solid gap between Islam Makhachev and Charles Oliveira. And I believe that's going to show when they fight again, because I do think that Islam Makhachev is going to beat Charles Oliveira once again. That's just my honest opinion. But Alex could do it. Obviously, I believe in Alex. I think Alex could beat Islam Makhachev, but it's going to be really tough because the striking of Islam has gotten better. His grappling is some of the best in all of the UFC. I think he is the best grappler in all of the UFC. I think he's better than Aljo. I think he's better than whoever you put him up against. I think his grappling far surpasses everybody's. Khamzat's, Kamaru Usman's, everybody's. You know what I mean? I believe he's the best grappler. But if Volk can get the job done somehow, you know how much that will elevate him? I think that will elevate him. I mean, him beating Aljo will probably elevate him above, because right now I have him in the top 5. I have him behind, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, no, I think I have him number 6, if I'm not mistaken. I have John Jones at 1. I have George St. Pierre at 2. At 3, I have Anderson Silva. At 4, I have Mighty Mouse. At 5, I have Khabib. And then at 6, I have Alexander Volkanovski. With Volk possibly beating both Topuria and Aljamain, I think I would definitely put him over Khabib. Well, I mean, let's get that out of the conversation. If he beats Islam, he might be top 3. He might be top 3, and you can definitely make a case for top 2. Okay? So if he does that, if he beats Islam Makhachev, I think that puts him in the number 2 spot, right behind John Jones. And it all really depends if John Jones wants to continue fighting, which maybe might not even happen if he beats Stipe, right? Which I believe he does beat Stipe, and that even furthers his legacy even more, just higher. You know what I mean? It's gonna be really tough for Volk to become the GOAT. It's really tough because some people, even if he beats Islam, are not gonna consider him the GOAT. I mean, I might, maybe. I mean, depending on how he beats. If he does beat Islam, and let's say they do a rematch and he beats Islam again, you know what I mean? Which is my next step. Step 4, have a few title defenses. If he beats Islam in the rematch, in the trilogy, and then he defends it maybe 1-2 more times after that, I think you can say that Alexander Volkanovski is the GOAT of MMA. I genuinely believe that you can put that and say that, and not people can bat an eye at you. You'll be like, what? Volkanovski? Are you fucking kidding me? No, it's still John Jones. It's still I have George St. Pierre over him. I believe that people will definitely give him the credit. Not only he beats Islam, but if he beats him twice. Which is, you know how, listen, the path is just a path. It's just if he's able to do it, which is obviously attainable, but the level of difficulty that is very tough. Because Islam Makhachev is no slouch. Islam Makhachev is one of the best fighters in the world. But, man, it's going to be really tough for Volk to do this, man. Can he do it? Obviously. But who's to say if he does this, you can't call him the GOAT? I think you can call him the GOAT. He's never tested positive for steroids. He's never done anything bad like a John Jones, you know, who he's popped positive for steroids, right? And that's what you can give him the edge over John Jones for. In that specific, you know, area. He has never tested positive for steroids. You know what I mean? And hopefully he never does. Let's just say that. Hopefully for his sake, for his legacy's sake, he never does, which I believe he doesn't. I believe that Volk is clean. But, man, I'm telling you. And by the way, I'm still calling John Jones the GOAT even with the steroids and all the stuff that's happened. I'm still calling him the GOAT. I know a lot of people have their non-steroid and they have their rules about the GOAT status and whatever. Listen, steroids or no steroids, John Jones is the GOAT, in my opinion. But I'm just saying, you can give reasons why Volkanovski is the GOAT over John Jones, and that could be a reason used against John Jones and have Volk over him. But yeah, I think that's like, what is that, 4 steps of what I believe Volk has to do to become the UFC GOAT. Because right now, to me, out of everybody that's in the UFC right now, he has the best chances. Him and Islam, to me, if I'm thinking right now, yeah. Between him and Islam, I think those two guys have the best odds. Because Islam could go up to 170 and beat like a Leon Edwards, and then we're like, okay, wait a minute. What is going on here? But right now, Volk has the best odds to become the UFC GOAT and the MMA GOAT. So that is the list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends about me and stuff like that. I want to continue to be consistent. I'm sorry for not being consistent, by the way. I've been gone for a while, dealing with school and stuff like that, dealing with work. But I want to be consistent once again. Hopefully you guys are in it for the ride, and I'll see you guys soon with another video. Peace out.